Hello, and welcome to Young Global Leaders, where we get the chance to hear from young people hailing from all around the world, sharing about themselves, their accomplishments, and their vision for a better world. Recently, I had the privilege of leading a group of about 100 young people from over 40 countries to 7 global regions on an 8-month global gap year program. Most of them had just graduated from high school, though we also had a few older students. During our 8+ months together, the students formed a deeply loving and supportive community. Anyone could see that they had built something unique and inspiring. Through my eyes as a teacher, coach, and global leadership consultant, what I saw was unlike anything I'd seen before. When the program ended, I desperately wanted to keep in touch with these students and to share their example with the world. So I started the Young Global Leaders podcast. Today we hear from Mina Kim. Mina Kim, I am so happy that you've decided to join us today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Yay, me too.
Could you start just by telling us where you're joining us from today?
Yeah, I am calling from Tampa, Florida at my parents' house. I've been back for, I think, 2 weeks now from my travel in Korea and Japan.
So tell us all a little bit about the travel that you've done. So let's see, we're recording this in the middle of July 2025. And
Yes.
The program that you were on, which was the context for you and I knowing each other that we'll talk about here in a little bit, ended, I guess it was May 20th. Have you been doing a lot of traveling since then?
Yeah, so after the program ended on May 20th, I went to Korea to see my family, and I guess I got to travel a little bit inside Korea for a month and a half, and then I was in Japan for another 4 days-ish. Yeah.
And then you got back home to Tampa a couple weeks ago?
Yes, on July 5th, so
Okay.
yeah.
Great. Well, welcome home.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nice.
Good.
Very nice to be home.
So we just want to get really kind of right into it. And what we want is for our listeners to just get a sense of who you are. I had the great benefit of getting to know you over the course of several months. And this will come up probably later in the conversation, just like what I've come to appreciate about you as a person. But I want to hear from you first, like what to share with our listeners. What makes Mina Mina? What makes you you?
All right. So I think when I ask my friends and the people who know me, like, what words best describe who I am? Who do you think I am? A lot of people tell me that I'm a very positive, bubbly, outgoing person with a lot of energy. And I think that's mostly true. I think it's very easy for me to look for and see the positive things in life. So when I was very young, when I was like, I don't remember exactly how old I was, but when I first started being able to read Korean, my first gift from my dad, or that I know of, was a book on positivity and also like how to be considerate to others. And it was like a book that, according to my mom, I read like 20 times. And even though now I don't like really remember the book, I have a feeling that probably impacted how I look on life right now and think about it. So yeah. And then I guess another big part of my life would be that I grew up in a very Christian household. My dad is a pastor, so I'm pretty religious. But I also like to think that I'm very open-minded when it comes to just talking about different things, including religion, and learning about how other people see and view the world.
Well, that's great. I mean, I'd love to get into that a little bit more once we talk about the adventure that you've been on. And actually, this is a really good opportunity for us to just get into that. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about the adventure that you've been on recently?
Yeah, of course. So after I graduated from University of Virginia, May of 2024, I thought to myself, wouldn't it be so cool if I got an opportunity to travel? So I started looking for gap year programs because as a poor college student, you gotta look for scholarship opportunities. And then I came across Beret Scholars, where I started my journey in August, and we went through a lot of different regions, starting from New York, Brazil, France, and then I didn't get to go to Africa or Turkey, but then I rejoined the program in India and China. So that was a year of a lot of countries.
Yeah. Can you tell us why you weren't able to come to Turkey or to Kenya?
Yes. Okay, so before I applied for Beret, I actually applied for my US citizenship. And the funny thing is, I'm a little bit of a procrastinator. And I also didn't think I would want or need a US citizenship because, one, I'm a girl, right? And so there was no problem with me having to go to the Korean military because all Korean male citizens are required to go through like 2 years, like a year and a half now, I think, of service. But I thought to myself, well, I don't have to do that. And for the most part, for most things, you can do basically everything in the US except for like voting with a green card. But things turned out to a way where I've set my eyes on pursuing a legal career. And half of what I could pursue as an opportunity is in the government, but you can't have any government jobs without a citizenship. So in order to open up and keep my possibilities open as much as possible, I decided to apply for a citizenship. And then I applied to Beret. And thankfully, I think the time of events turned out to be really great for me because I got my citizenship interview and everything right after the winter break that Beret had. So I could just stay home and then do the interview, get my citizenship, and then get my passport, which took a couple months. And then rejoin the program. And right before the whole Trump thing started happening. So great timing overall.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'll say, I know the timing worked out great for you. It wasn't great not having you on the program for those two regions. And I just remember seeing you I think it was at breakfast in the hotel in New Delhi, when I saw your smiling face again. And I was just so happy that you were able to rejoin us because, it just wasn't the same without you.
Aw. It was so touching to feel that, not just from you, but from a lot of other people in the program as well. And I really felt like I was missed, which I don't think I was expecting as much. And I think it makes that program just that more special.
Yeah. Can you say a little bit more about that? Because I think what you're getting at is the nature of the relationships among all of the students, which I just found to be such an incredibly sweet aspect of this experience, was just how much all of you cared for one another.
Yeah. So, I think my personal analysis of all of these things is not to criticize or anything, but I think it's a phenomenon that often happens when people find really deep friendships for the first time outside of their home setting. Because I think I've also experienced something similar to this in my first year of college, but not as much because it was COVID, so you couldn't really see people in person. But when I did, it was like very nice. We really connected, even in the small moments we were able to meet in person. But I think this program was even more special because a lot of the students, for them, it was their first time doing a program after high school, outside of their home, family, whatever. And this was their first experience with the outside world. And it was such an incredible impact on them, I'm sure, because even for me, and I've traveled a lot before this program too, it was a lot because you were not just living with these people, but creating all these memories with them, like eating every meal with them. living together in very small quarters, the whole entire year, I think people got to really know who the other person is and kind of like you were able to see people as who they were, more or less. Yeah, so I think it created really special friendships and connections.
I'm curious as well because, typically we think of gap year programs as happening after high school and before college. And your experience relative to most of the other students on this experience, on this program, was that you had already finished college before beginning the program.
Yeah.
And so you had a kind of a special role in the cohort. By dint of that, I'm wondering if you can share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I thought it was funny because I was on average older than most of the students by 4 or 5 years, and also on average younger than the staff by 4 or 5 years. Like the youngest staff, I think Veronica was only older than me by like 2 years. And Luis was like 4 years older than me. So in that way, I think I formed as many friendships that were, as special for me with the staff as with the students, which I think was really cool. And I think I also got to share my experience that I've had, and all these little things I learned in college with the students in a way that, the fellows weren't able to share as easily maybe because nothing against it, but they're kind of a different generation, Some of them were younger, so.
That's funny. I mean, not to mention your dean, who's totally different generation.
It's okay,
Is it okay?
Yeah. As a joke, of course, but like if you were born in the 1900s, like you're in the history books, basically,
Relics, we're
jokes.
historical relics.
Yeah. But it's great, to be able to talk with where our ancestors came from and all of that.
I forgot this was something that you regularly teased me about throughout the year. That's
It's
right,
something
because
I
you
caught
thought
on, in college.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. What did you
Yeah.
catch on in college?
Making fun of all of my upperclassmen who were just older than me by a couple of years and calling them relics because they were, born in 1999.
That's hilarious. But I remember we had this kind of running joke because you thought I was over 60. And for the listeners, like I was 56 throughout the year. And I recently turned 57, but I was fake offended that you thought I was over 60.
For the listeners,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say Jason may have rather a big heart that compensates for his lack of hair.
I love it because I remember that you showed me once a page of drawings that you had made of
Yes.
It was during our morning program, and you were doodling. You're doodling, just making little drawings of everybody, and you showed me your doodle of me, and I looked at it and I thought, "Where's all the hair? Oh wait, I don't have any."
So, is it like genetics, or
Yeah.
or did you just never have?
I've never. I mean, actually, in my case, like, there's lots of people that I know
Yeah,
who had a lot of hair and lost it.
yeah, like my dad.
And I used to have more than I have now because it would be almost impossible to have less than I have right now. But I've never had a lot of hair, and it was actually something that I got teased about a lot when I was younger. Because it was kind of awful. And I also used to be really, really short for my age as well, if you can imagine that. And so people could look down on me and see how little hair I had, and it just became a source of teasing and harassment. So I've always been really self-conscious about it. I mean, I've gotten over it over the years, right?
You're like 6'5".
6'4". But thank you for the grade inflation there, Mina. I appreciate that a lot. No, exactly. But when I was when I entered high school, I was one of the 2 or 3 shortest kids in my class of like 200.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Was everyone
yeah.
else in your high school like 6 feet?
No, I think I was 5'2" when I entered high school.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you were like a late grower then.
I was a late grower. Yeah.
I see.
Anyway, all of that to say what? Where the heck are we?
That
Yes.
you're
Okay.
not offended by my jokes. Yes.
No, definitely not. I think it's funny. It's it can be used as a way of ribbing and teasing is a way to bring people closer together. It can be, right, if the intent is if that's the intent, right? If the intent is
Right.
to belittle or to other to others, then it's probably not so good. But I never felt that with you. I knew it was all
Yeah.
it was all in good
that's
fun.
good.
Yeah.
It's okay. All the students were making fun of me too sometimes. Half the
Right,
time they thought I was the same age, so.
They thought you were the same age, really?
Yeah, okay. So I think I was very shocked when, like, halfway through the program, I was like, "Ugh, I'm so much older than you guys." And someone was like, "Aren't you 18?" And no one questioned it. No one. It was only, like, Iris or Mohammed who was just like, yeah, she's, like, 23. She's ancient. And I was just like, now that sounds a little offensive. But yeah, I think even now, people who don't know me quite as well in the cohort, in the yearbook signing, people were still like coming up to me and being like, "You graduated college?" Yeah, it was kind of funny.
Well,
Yeah.
here's one thing you got to be ready for as you continue to age, is the
Okay.
joke's going to be on you more and more. So enjoy it
know.
while you can, Mina.
I will. I think the good thing is though, I do look young for my age.
You do look young for your age.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Mina. So I want to circle back to what you were sharing. I don't remember your exact words, but you were sharing about your Christian faith,
Yeah.
but also being very open-minded. And I'm wondering, because we had people from over 40 countries and many religious faiths,
Yeah.
did you have any interesting conversations, experiences, anything that you'd be willing to share with us?
Yeah, of course.
Great.
I think some of my most interesting conversations came up with one of my roommates, Iris. And I think it's also really cool because my first fellowship, Gigi, Iris, and I, we were all in the same fellowship and we roomed together. And it was
where
a
were
DC
you?
fellowship.
DC, okay.
Yeah, it was a politics one. So, politics and religion actually go pretty well hand in hand, especially in conversations. And I think for that fellowship itself, I remember talking a little more about the politics side and kind of explaining to my two roommates why I could see the different ways that American voters would think a certain way or another, and why some people, people may disagree with Trump, but they may still vote for him. And my roommates, being from China or Hong Kong and Romania, they just didn't get it at all. And I was kind of trying to explain to them what I knew and understood of American government, politics, and like the history behind all these things. And then I think naturally it also led into religion and why I thought some of the ways that I did, because that is very, very heavily influenced by my religion. And I think after that, then we kind of dived into the conversations like, why do you believe in God? And how come you have this faith? Because just because you have parents who are very religious or you grew up in a religious household doesn't guarantee you becoming very religious or keeping your faith throughout your adulthood. So I think we've had very interesting conversations where I got to share a little bit about my faith and how their stance was on religion as well. So it was really cool.
Religion it's one of the things that we're taught in the United States. Religion and politics are like the two things you're never supposed to talk about.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're going to, right? And so that's kind of interesting. That actually, I think, it says something about the nature of the students on this program, that you could have these conversations. Did it ever get heated or uncomfortable in any way?
I think more or less it was pretty respectful, but I think it's the same. It was kind of similar for me, at least personally, the environment in Beret as it was in my college. I think colleges typically, by the nature of things, happen to be more liberal, democratic, and more or less atheist leaning, is the way I think I would describe it. It doesn't mean that it keeps people from sharing their ideas or beliefs, but I think you kind of get the vibe that, oh, a lot of people are probably more or less like liberal or things like that. I think I've had a cool experience in my college where I've taken a few classes where the professors they did not shy away from sharing their own beliefs on things or their own values, but rather taught us to question and be able to respectfully discuss everything, including our personal values and other people's positions on things. So I think that really helped in me kind of bringing that kind of discussion into the cohort where we could phrase things in a way where everyone could express their views respectfully. I think there were instances where people who were more conservative, for example, got made fun of. And then I did spend some private time with some of the students kind of explaining how, hey, I happen to be a little more conservative too. And I think I see where they're coming from. Not necessarily that I agree with everyone or that I disagree with some of the other people or any of these things, but maybe we can all agree to kind of look into where they're coming from and realize like they're not just, to be made fun of. And I think those kind of deep conversations helped me connect with those students a little better. So that was pretty cool.
So do you feel like did you take the initiative to have these conversations?
Sometimes. Other times I think people came to me because they knew I was Christian. Sometimes it just happened.
Well, actually, I want to jump in with something here too, just because I'm picking up on, it seems to me like there's an underlying assumption that Christian equals conservative.
Ooh, yeah. I think that is a very interesting point that you pointed out. You're right in that is the assumption, and I think that's a very American assumption. But I think it happens because Christianity for a lot of people means tradition as well. And conservatives, the word conservative in itself kind of means conserve, like traditional values. And I think those kind of things are connected. They're not always the same, but I think now my view of what it means to be a conservative might be different from what other people think it means to be a conservative. But I think it means valuing tradition. And in that sense, I think just even looking at the history of America and seeing how it was built on very religious and Christian beliefs, even for a lot of the rulings of courts and the laws that it was built, not saying that they were right, but seeing value in some of them, I think makes me a little more conservative than maybe people who might say, if it's wrong, we should just change it. Which I don't disagree with. I don't disagree with changing things, but I think, okay, so I've been reading a lot of books lately. I think especially after Beret, I got a chance to kind of relax and settle down and read more peacefully. And some of the books were about poverty, about religion, and about abortion. I just finished a book on abortion and how that kind of created this, or that was a big part of how in the past decade or two, politics has really shifted into this religious, like conservatives are Christian and they're pro-life. And then like pro-choice is like, are you really Christian? And like, you're a liberal. And as I was reading the book, I felt like, wow, that's such a pitiful way of looking at things. Like, it could have been phrased and put in a way that would have been so much more helpful for people. As well, reading the book, I got the sense that all of these things ended up being this way because some people who were able to change the narrative used it to benefit themselves or their political careers or to get money. And that's in no way for the people themselves. But people get, they get caught up in these things. I think I read in the book somewhere that, like, before Roe versus Wade, the conversations between the two parties they actually agreed much more about what we should do about abortion. People on both sides would agree that, like, abortion should be allowed in terms of incest, rape, and for the mother's health. And then both sides would agree that it should be rare. It should not be something that happens very frequently and is, like, advocated for in a way, But then in the past 20 years, that's changed. Like, today, you would see a lot of people who say no abortion in any case, except maybe if the mother's, like, about to die, or people who are pro-choice all the way, where I think more people are on the extremes than they were a few decades ago, which I think is very, very sad. And they're not on those sides for the mothers. If they really care about the mother, then they would do so much more to make things happen differently. But yeah, that was a whole rant.
No, not at all. No, I really appreciate you sharing all of that. And I think one of the things, these days it almost feels trite to point out the obvious, which is that the times that we're living in are extremely polarized. Yeah. I don't know by what measures, right? But it certainly feels that way. And one of the things that I found so remarkable about all of you students coming from all of these different cultures and traditions and worldviews managed to not only get along, but really to love one another and support one another and really kind of be part of this beautiful global family. And I'm wondering, I feel like that's a skill set that so many of us lack. We don't have a lot of models for it, right? If we look at our leaders and the way that the media tends to cover events and playing off of divisions and all of that. And so I'm wondering, it really seems like you, as one of the students who went through this experience, you've got something that we all really desperately need and that our world desperately needs, which is this ability to, communicate and collaborate across cultures, and also to go beyond that and really just, love and support and, be on the same team as, people who are really different from you. So have you gained any insights through your time, this past year about, so you could frame this any way you want, whether it's just, your own insights, or if you've got advice for the rest of us or for folks out there, anything that you would care to share about how you have managed to have these incredibly positive and supportive relationships with people who are so incredibly diverse.
Yeah. I think I realized while talking with one of my roommates and helping her kind of digest how she should talk with others, because I think she was also learning how to, communicate cross-culturally. Actually, a lot of my roommates were. And I think we had pretty deep, intense conversations about what it means to really communicate with others, and how we can do that better. And I think I was able to put into words what I had only thought before, which is that in order for communication to work well, you can't just say something really well and expect others to get it. You also have to understand how the other person will perceive and hear and understand what you're saying, and speak in their language as well if you want to be understood. Because those are two different things. Expressing your ideas well versus expressing your ideas in their language. And sometimes that can look very different depending on who you're talking to. And different people and different situations will require you to talk in different ways for your ideas and opinions and whatever you want to get across to be understood. And at the same time, having that amount of love and grace for whoever is talking to you. So when I am listening to someone and I hear something and I know that's not what they mean or intend to say, but they, you know, maybe in the heat of the moment or because they grew up in a culture where saying something is more accepted than in my culture or things like that, they may end up saying something that I don't end up receiving in the way they intended to. But I know that. And because I know and recognize that divide, I can have grace with them and just understand them because I know what they mean. And I think sometimes people don't know what they mean. So that's a skill I think both the speaker and the audience need to develop. And I think when both sides have it, it's a lot easier because whatever mistakes are made in the saying or the listening, they can both kind of make it work. But if that grace and love or like the willingness to be understanding isn't there, then you either have to be really, really, really good at speaking the other person's language or be prepared to kind of fight it out. Yeah. So I think that was a pretty cool experience to get to kind of verbalize what I think communication means. And then also see my fellow peers in the program kind of grow to be better communicators and grow in their friendships as well.
You mentioned the word grace 3 times. Forgive me for counting. But I noticed it because I just, it's something I've been reflecting on and constant area of my own personal growth is trying to bring grace to every human interaction that I have to, and actually I'm going to stop there because I was about to sort of get into, you know, my understanding of what grace is, but I would love to hear from you first. Can you share with us how you see grace? What is grace and how do we offer it to others?
Yeah. Well, I think it's really easy for me because I've received a lot of grace. And what I mean by that is I am a very clumsy person. I may not seem like it. On the first glance, especially when I have my glasses, I think, like, I know how people view me when they first meet me. Is a quiet, shy, studious, smart, intelligent Asian girl. Like, on top of things, right? And then, like, I start talking. And I start walking around. And people see me trip and fall, lose my things all over the world. Every hotel we've gone to, I think I've left something behind. It's crazy. Absolutely. And it's just an endless series of things I, forget or mess up or make a mistake. But then I think people around me have taught me to have grace with myself, and also they have shown me grace when I've done something wrong, right? When I forget something, or maybe I sleep in through a meeting that I was really supposed to go to. And they've shown me a lot of grace. So I think that's easy for me to kind of say the same, like, people may have a hard time or a bad day, or maybe that's just who they are, but if I can afford the grace, why don't I just show that? I think in the Christian way of thinking about it too, it's like we're all sinners and then we get saved and all of these things. But I think it hit home more for me because not just the stories, but the way that people around me showed that grace to me. Yeah, so more or less. Like, yeah. I think with my parents too, they've never blamed me for something that I did wrong, but instead encouraged me to do better next time. I think that's grace.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm picking up on is a couple of things. One is that your ability to give grace has a lot to do with your own recognition of the grace that you've received.
Yeah, I guess you can put it that way.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm also, I'm picking up on, I feel like there's kind of a sense of abundance at the heart of it all.
Yeah. I think without that, it's really hard to give. Because I think for most people, you wouldn't go into debt to provide for someone else, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a lot, then you can afford to be gracious with others. And I think it's not just like money, but also how much space you have in your heart and your life.
I love that. I feel like the so much of what keeps us apart is that we can so easily feel threatened by people who are different from us, that somehow what we hold dear, our values and who we hold, like our identity, like who we hold ourselves to be, is somehow under threat, that we have to we might feel like we're being asked or even forced to give something up. So there's a scarcity there at the heart of that sense of threat that keeps us apart. And what I feel like you're doing by bringing grace to the forefront is you're flipping that on its head completely. You're saying, well, no, actually we're not going to go down that road. There is enough. I've got enough room in my heart to receive you and honor you and love you.
Yeah. I do recognize, though, if maybe people haven't grown up in that kind of environment, it may be hard to give. Because, imagine if I haven't received all of that throughout my whole entire life, maybe I would have different reactions too. And I understand that as well. And understanding all of that also brings in, I think, grace.
Well, as somebody who has had the chance to be in your presence a lot, I want to say it comes through loud and clear in terms of who you are and the effect that you've had on me. And it seems to tie in, like there's a very direct tie-in to what you said earlier in our conversation about this basic fundamental positivity that you have about the world as well. Just really, really comes through and is easy to feel.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's true. And I'm also seeing connections now to your curiosity also, which I'd love to hear your memory of. I feel like the first kind of relatively deep conversation that you and I had, it was in New York, which was the first, for our listeners, was the first of the 7 home-based cities that we stayed in throughout our travels. And the way that I recall it was, it was the lobby of the hotel, and I feel like you just came up to me and said, "Hey, Jason, I've been thinking about something. What makes a good question?"
Oh, yeah. I ambushed you.
Well, I didn't feel ambushed. I was like, what? I was like, well, that's a good question. What makes a good question? That's a really, really good question.
I had ulterior motives,
Well, no, please. Yeah, because I'd love to hear your version.
So we've had morning programs for a few weeks now at that point, and we've had Q&A sessions. So for the speakers, the morning program consisted of maybe 3 to 4 speakers who came in for an hour or so, and they would give a little presentation about their life or whatever they wanted to, present about what they were doing. And then we would get to, ask a few questions. But since we were on a tight schedule, we would get times to ask maybe a few questions, no more than 5, right? And people would raise their hands, ask questions. And I was like, that's great. I didn't necessarily want to be the one asking questions, but sometimes this was not just me. A lot of people thought some of the questions are kind of not as enlightening as they would want it to be. And if people are going to ask those kind of things, why don't we prepare better questions or let other people who have better questions ask the questions? Because it also felt like the same, like 5 people, let's say, were asking the same questions for every single speaker. And, you know, it wasn't to say that other people had better questions. Maybe some of them did. But it was a, you know, raised concern between me and some of the people we were talking about at that point in the program. So I had a plan. I was like, I'm going to ask all the staff about what they think it means to ask a good question, because I thought if I asked them that, that would be on the forefront of their minds, right? So if a student asked what they thought was not a great question, they'll kind of pick up on it, right? It's like a subconscious thing. And then things will change. It improved, actually. It did. I don't know if it was my impact, but...
I think it was.
Maybe.
I think it was. And,
yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, please, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no. And then I think I was also curious about what made a good question, because, you know, questions kind of open up conversations. And at the time, my boyfriend was also kind of requiring that I ask more questions to him, because he's a great question asker and I'm a great speaker. So I expect other people to just tell me information, but I don't necessarily ask. So I think it was also in part wondering how I could ask more questions so that I could be, you know, asking my boyfriend not just about like, how was your day, but
Right. Go a little deeper.
yeah. Yeah. So I think those are the 2 things that were in my head.
I love it. And I'm going to come back to that in just a second, but I'm just noticing, you know, some thoughts that I'm having as you're sharing about this. And so I'm expertise is great. Technical, like we need knowledge. Knowledge is great. So nothing that I'm about to say is meant to like say, you know, we shouldn't know stuff because we need to know stuff. It has its role in human development. And so often what's missing for us as humans is curiosity. The open-ended, like it basically essentially, on some level, every time you're asking a question, you're admitting that you don't know something, right? And you're also, and you're seeking some other perspective on something. And I think that is such a crucial underlying element of, you know, if we're talking about our species and building a brighter future, that's absolutely a cornerstone and absolutely fundamental, is we have to be willing to start with, I don't know. And that's what I think fundamentally that I found so beautiful about your inquiry into inquiry. Right? So, you know, how might I go about conducting myself in such a way as to maximize the growth in understanding and the growth in different perspectives. So I absolutely loved talking with you about that, and really got me thinking a lot about it. And then I'll just share one other piece of this, which was, I remember then I was just like, the next day at morning program, or maybe it was the day after, I don't remember. I was just like, come on, Mina, I want to see that hand go up. And then it happened. You put your hand up, and I don't remember which speaker it was. They called on you and you asked the question. And the first thing they said was, that's a great question. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I don't even remember what I asked though.
I don't either. But in a sense, it doesn't even really matter, right? The point was that you were that it was sort of a reaping of the harvest of this process that you'd been going through, and I think it really did also have an impact on the cohort and on the quality of the questioning for everybody. So I think it ended up everybody ended up learning more as a result of that.
Yeah, that's what I hope, because I also think, like, there are questions that the speakers come in prepared for, you know, or want to be asked. So if I was a speaker, I would have knowledge about a certain thing, or whether, like, it's my life experience or the things that I've been working on or studying, that I would be fully prepared to answer. and maybe some things I would want to answer and other things I wouldn't want asked. And I felt like sometimes students didn't see that, and they were asking about the things that the speaker probably had no knowledge of or couldn't answer them. So, but I'm glad it was hopefully a moment of learning for everyone.
Yeah, I think it was for sure. Now, unfortunately, and we're coming up on the end of our time. It's just flown by.
Wow.
And so I've just got 2 more questions for you. And the first question is, so you mentioned, well, I'll just ask you straight up. What's next for you?
Well, I think I'm looking at another gap year. I'm looking for jobs actually in the legal field, locally, as I prepare another round of applications. So looking forward to that. And then I have a girls' trip to Chicago 2 weeks from now, I think. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
What's a girls' trip?
It's gonna be me and 3 other girls. We were really close in college, and now we're gonna take a trip together because I'm in Florida, another girl's in Atlanta, Georgia, a different girl is in Charlottesville, Virginia, or like Nova area, and then like the 4th girl is in Boston, so we're all scattered around East Coast.
So why Chicago?
So actually, me and one of the girls, we had planned to do a Chicago trip for the past like 2 years. And so we were like, okay, now that I'm finally back, let's do it. And then we just invited the other 2 girls along.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, thank you.
So looking at the longer term, you mentioned the legal field. Specifically, what kind of work are you looking to do?
Well, anything that gets me experience. I've realized that I don't have a very strong legal background other than doing an internship for a little bit in college. So I am hoping to be able to kind of look into what it actually means to work in the legal field, because even as I am applying to go to law school, I still don't know what kind of law field I want to go into and what I want to do exactly with law. I was hoping that law school helped me find it out, but it would be even better if I got to, taste a little bit of it and get a sense of what I want to do before then as well, so that I can study for a goal that I have in mind.
Great. So will you be applying to law schools this fall?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Good. I love the thought of Mina with a law degree going and making a big difference out there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have heard that lawyers are a little mean, and many people have told me, they were like, you're too nice to be a lawyer. So I want to kind of change that narrative.
Yes. And I'll say this point blank as somebody who's been around a while. I have known a lot of incredibly kind-hearted and very, very tenacious and effective lawyers in my life. So, that's a narrative that, whatever. I don't think it's accurate. And at the same time, I also love your commitment to shifting it too.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, one more question, Mina.
Okay.
Which is, do you have I know we're slightly over time. Okay.
I have
We're
all
good.
day.
Okay. So, the world is a pretty bleak place in a lot of ways, right? A lot of suffering, and a lot of that suffering is caused by human beings. And it can be really easy to feel overwhelmed and to feel like there really isn't any hope. Have you got any words to encourage us about our future?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this, and I think one of the easiest ways to do that is there is a lot of suffering, there is a lot of pain, but there is also a lot of growth and joy that we've made from our past improvements that we've made as well. And those are also made by humans. So I think when we focus on the things that we have grown and the things that we can grow into, then we can kind of have a better idea about the one more step that we can go to making a better future. And, I know a lot of people who are worried about the environment or global warming or things like that. But I think if we live out today and do our very best for the next generation, then the next generation will hopefully remember us as a generation that tried their best. I think maybe that's enough.
Great. Beautiful. Thank you, Mina.
Of course.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Mina. If you did, please tell at least one friend about it, give us a 5-star rating, and subscribe to the podcast. That will help others find us. Until next time, let's keep our heads clear and our hearts open.